Good afternoon, Glendale. This is the Glendale Water and Power Commission meeting on Monday, May 5th. And welcome. My name is Commissioner Alex Fay. And let's start by calling the roll, and we'll welcome some new commissioners, or at least one new commissioner today.
Yes. Item number 1, roll call. Commissioner Fay.
Here.
Commissioner Flanagan.
Here.
And Commissioner Avedian.
Here.
Item number 2, consent items. 2A, approval of April 7, 2025 meeting minutes.
After we had a chance to review the minutes, I'd entertain a motion if anyone wants to move to approve the minutes.
President Fay, if I may interject, since Commissioner Avedian was not on the commission last time, and since he'll be abstaining, the commission also has the option of carrying over the minutes to the next meeting, if you so desire. Otherwise, we can take a vote, and it would be passed by majority vote.
I'm comfortable that we vote and move ahead, even with the abstention. Is that
Sounds
okay?
good. Yes.
Okay. I'll second.
All right. Item number 3, Glendale Water and Power Commission and staff comments.
Thanks. First, I'd just like quickly welcome our newest commissioner to this body and maybe invite you to say a few words and introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you. My name is Varujan Avedian. I've been a Glendale resident for the past 2 years. And in fact, professional, I was born in Glendale Water and Power. I used to work for Glendale Water and Power, and I work for another utility or neighboring utility here. But I'm excited and to be here and working with staff. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for your service and thank you for joining us. Commissioner Flanagan, anything you'd like to add?
Nothing to start.
Okay. Well, I think it's timely. We'll be talking about reliability today. We saw lots of news about the electrical grid collapse in Spain and Portugal, and we don't want that to happen here. So we trust all of you very capable people to make sure that we're in good hands. And with that, Mr. Mellon, I'll let you introduce your comments.
Thank you, President Fay. I don't have anything in particular. I guess I could comment a little bit on the Spain outage. I know that even right now, they still don't know for sure what the actual cause was, but a lot of the science behind it is supporting a lack of inertia. For lack of a better word, spinning mass is what they believe was the primary cause. I won't get into all the details there. I'll use that as a seed for conversation on other topics later. But I would like to bring up our AGM of water, Mr. Obligolu. He's going to kind of bring you up to speed on what's going on with water right now.
Great. Before you begin, maybe just a footnote, as the news does come out and there is some official documentation of what happened, maybe at a future meeting, if you could just give us the professional engineering explanation, I think that would be good just for everyone to know.
More than willing. I'm watching with bated breath right now. I'm very curious to see what they come up with as the main cause.
Great, thank you. Mr. Obigolo?
All right, thank you, Scott. And welcome, Commissioner Avedian. I look forward to working with you. Just a couple key updates. One of the critical projects that we're currently undertaking in water is the comprehensive replacement of all of our water meters. We have about 35,000 meters that we're in the process of replacing. These meters are what is known as AMI, or automatic metering infrastructure, simply meaning it allows for two-way communication in which we can remotely monitor and track water usage, but also it allows the customer to monitor their water usage in near real time. And so these meters were installed in 2011. They have about a 15-year life expectancy, and so they have exceeded that actually. As a matter of fact, a third of our meters have become obsolete, meaning they're not able to register via communication, so we have to manually read them. But I bring that up because we're actually getting ready to go to council tomorrow to request authorization to commence the replacement of these meters. And we will be doing this utilizing what is known as alternative bid method, which is where we're going to have the consultant who will be designing the meters work hand in hand with the contractor who will be installing the meters as one entity. And what this does is it really increases efficiency, decreases change orders, and really saves the city quite a bit of money. So that is what we'll be going to council to discuss tomorrow. We can certainly bring back a full report to this commission next month if you so wish, but I wanted to give you that option.
Thank you for the heads up. I think we would love to hear more about the plan, timing of how long it's going to take and what the impacts might be for customers. So once you get the approval, please let us know.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, Mr. Mellon?
That's all I have.
Okay, then we can proceed through the agenda.
Sure. Item number 4, oral communication, and they have 5 minutes. We do not have any speakers or callers as of right now. So can we move on to item number 5?
Yes, let's proceed.
Item number 5, reports. 5A, electric reliability report.
So we're going to have Ms. Babakahanalu. Sorry if I massacred the last name. I always do that. Apologies.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Avidian, President Fay, and Commissioner Flanagan and city staff. I'm Catherine Babakanlu, Principal Electrical Engineer in charge of transmission distribution. I'm here to share with you our reliability report for the past years. I have the data updated up to 2024. So, we are looking at reliability, affordability, and sustainability for our customers. This is what our system is built upon. In this slide, we are looking at safety, SAIDI, and KD. These are the reliability indices. These are the metric indices that we track. If you notice, it's talking in this graph is describing about the outages and length of the outage. Our goal as a utility is like to reduce the length of the outage and minimize the duration of the outage. So ideally, we like to have 0. Our goal is to have 0 outages, but we know that the system out there is under weather-related issues, and we don't have control on the system. Here in this slide is just giving a description of the indices, outage indices. SAFE is how often the average customer experiences sustained interruption. SAIDI is the total duration of interruption for an average customer. And KD means the average time to restore service. When we do reporting on reliability, we kind of like to compare us with other utilities, and we follow some rules to compare apple to apple, and we follow IEEE rules. There are some exclusions to make when it comes to this reporting. If there is a major event happening in neighboring utility that caused us an outage, we don't count those outages against our system. One of the exclusions is if there is an outage due to a customer-owned facilities that we don't have control of, then those outages doesn't count against our system. When major events happens, meaning that if our facilities, more than 15% of facilities are affected, or more than 10% of utility customers are experiencing an outage, those outages considered major event, and we exclude from this report as per IEEE standard. Outages less than 5 minutes do not count, and those are the outages that they are restored by reclosers, either substation recloser or field reclosers. We do have pre-planned interruptions. These are outages that we upgrade our system due to maintenance reason, and we need to have outage for safety of crew. Those are pre-planned interruptions, and they don't count against reliability report. So here in this table, we are looking at frequency of outage. If you were a customer in Glendale and you were to ask us where we stand in terms of frequency of outage, this is what we measure. So our numbers for the past 5 years, it stayed more or less the same. We are benchmarking us against other utilities. SAIDI is the duration of interruption for average customer. Again, we see that there's a slight increase in our numbers, but we are taking some measures to mitigate those. Our numbers, our factors look not too bad compared to LADWP. Burbank and Pasadena, they have in order of 60,000 and 70,000 customers. Glendale has 95,000 customers. Therefore, our numbers is slightly higher than the other utilities. KD is the average time to restore service. If you were a customer in Glendale and you were to experience an outage, it takes us 87 minutes to restore power. So our numbers, again, slightly has been increased compared to year 2020, but there are projects and some measures we are taking to address this. Here we have a chart showing all the reasons what was causing those outages. Those outages are categorized by their event and by their categories. There are different reasons. There are some outages are due to cable failure, trees, we can say palm fronds. Always balloons had a major effect on our outages, scrolls, and equipment failures. This is called pie chart, and basically it's a good way to track, to find where the outages are. What are the reasons for the outage? Here is a video of simulation of how the outages happens due to mylar balloons. I'm gonna go to the next one. So this is just a summary of how many percent of outages occurred due to mylar balloons. 11% of outages during the past 5 years were due to mylar balloons. Even last year, just 13 outages that were caused by balloons. On average, every year we have 22 outages just due to mylar balloons. So, tree trimming program. So here are the measures we take to increase our reliability. One of the projects we have is tree trimming program. We increased our budget for this project. We exceed and put more clearance on our line to not allow some of these events happening. So our contractors, they trim the primary and secondary level of power lines. And this is really helping. It's very important to do tree trimming on time. This is increasing our reliability. Another project we have is 4 kV to 12 kV conversion. This project is making our system a lot more robust and more forgiving in terms of fault due to vegetation. As part of this project, we spread the wires. Therefore, there is less chance of contact between wires when there is a windy situation. And also, by upgrading the system, we replace all the equipment on power poles. So basically, we are addressing our equipment issues, if there is any kind of aging equipment. So our budget for this project, it's $7 million per year. Last year, we just had a contractor on board, and they rebuilt about 7 feeders for us as part of this project. Here, another capital projects we have is cable replacement project. We are proactively replacing our cables. When there's an underground system, our system is more protected against vegetation. However, when failure happens, it takes longer to restore because we need to locate the fault, pull out the cable, and replace it. Whereas if it's overhead system, it's easily locatable where the fault is. So this is the direction we are going. We like to underground our system. So equipment failure is another project we have. We have contractor on board. It was a 3-year contract. So we work with our contractor and look at the data to identify infrastructures that they are high risk. So in terms of once these infrastructures are identified, we replace those. Like if there are poles that they didn't pass and they failed, we send the job packages and projects to replace all the failures. By doing this, we increase our reliability. So basically, this was all the projects we do. This was some indication of the work we have in us, just to ensure we have safety and reliability is high in our system. And that was my presentation. If you guys have questions, I would like to help you.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Fellow commissioners, anyone like to go first?
I will, I guess. Thank you for your report.
Sure, of course.
I think you said that major events are excluded from the data, right?
Yes.
But were there any major events?
In 2024, we didn't have, but January of 25, it was the windstorm was major event.
Right. So, and that's not tracked anywhere in the electricity reliability report, or?
Because it's known to all the utilities that is a major event and every other utility was affected by that event. So IEEE standards, it says do not include those major events in reporting.
Right.
But yes, in our records, we have that and we keep track of major events.
And how long was our system, what percentage of our system was out during the Eaton fire and for how long? Do we know? That seems like a pretty important thing to talk about in an
Yes.
electricity reliability report, despite what IEEE says.
Yes. Is this on? Yeah. Commissioner Flanagan, President Fay, Commissioner Avenedian. Yeah, during the outages in January 7th, the windstorm, we had about 50 outages on our feeders. 50 feeders were out at the time. We normally get around 150 or so outages. So within a 2-week period, we got 1/3 of all outages. 33,000 customers were out. And again, mainly due to trees falling down because of the wind, trees falling into poles, or the winds being so high. We had 90-mile-an-hour winds that caused poles to snap as well because of the wind resistance. So again, we follow IEEE standards to track these outages. This is something out of the control of the utility because of the natural disaster that happened. So we do have information on what happened, how many customers were out, but again, it's not tracked as a regular outage in our indices that we track. So
Yeah.
generally, is that what you had?
Yes,
Questions?
that helps. And then another thing that is excluded is if you lose supply from neighboring utilities or other utilities. Did we have any of those events last year?
I don't recall.
We didn't
I
have
don't
any
think
event.
so. Yeah, that's a major event. So, and again, those pull down our sub-transmission system. It affects every substation, and it affects regions. Again, it's something out of the control of the utility. So it wouldn't be tracked as an event here with our indices, but we do track them. We do know when they happen.
Yeah, I think that's kind of interesting to know, since they're They are real, even though they're not tracked in the benchmarking data.
Yes.
And then when it comes to, I'm not sure I was reading all those charts correctly, but, and you said something about why we are higher than the other utilities on some of those charts? I thought it was per
Yeah,
customer, and so therefore, isn't that the purpose of benchmarking, for them to be
it was
comparable?
because of the number of customers. Burbank and Pasadena, they have in order of 60,000 and 70,000, whereas ours is like 95,000 customers. Therefore, if we have an outage, more people are affected by the outage.
Oh, so this is the number of people? This is the duration, this one, Katie, you call it Katie? This is
Yeah,
the
this is
duration.
the
per
time
customer.
to restore. It says the average time to restore service. The restore service for customers that they were out. And if you have more population, then more people, you would have outage. They would experience outage.
Doesn't make sense to me.
So, real quick, sorry. On the Sadie, I think that's when Catherine was mentioning the customer impact. So customer impact would be an issue for Sadie and Katie, but along with that is the size of the territory. It's not just the number of people, but the amount of space you have to cover and the amount of time to get there to solve the problem. So bigger territory, longer time to get there. So our times are going to be up. We're twice the size of Burbank. You know, we're about a third bigger than Pasadena.
Theoretically, we have twice as many staff as Burbank.
No.
No, see, so that explains why Burbank's numbers are lower than our numbers.
Yeah, they have about the same number of substations for a much smaller footprint, and they have a few more control functionalities that they can close in to isolate and reduce the amount of people that are out.
Maybe we have more trees here too?
We do. Yeah, we also have a
Yes.
shade tree program, so.
Okay.
Mhm.
And how are we comparing? I mean, I like the pie chart.
Mhm.
Has that materially changed from the year before? Or is that would be very helpful, I think, in the reporting to see the trend. You know, are we trending in one direction? I thought when I was on the commission before, Mylar balloons was an even larger percentage than it is now. So that's good news. Are
Well,
there
this is
certain
5
things that have-
years. This is 5 years worth of data, just to clarify for you, Commissioner. So,
Okay.
yeah, so it's probably why it feels a little diluted. If it were year-to-year basis, yeah, the Mylars would stand out even more.
Question is, are there any things that are significantly larger this year? And if so, why? Are there any categories in this pie chart that we should be aware that they're trending in the, I guess, in the wrong
So
direction?
I was comparing this pie chart to last year's
Yeah.
chart, and I realized our equipment failure is larger portion of this chart.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, I think we need to replace and replace our equipment. We should, with inspection program, we need to identify these high-risk equipment and replace them before they fail.
And is that, do we have a budget for that? Has the budget been increased to do that, or is that a staff recommendation?
Our budget is like pole replacement. While we replace the poles, we replace all the equipment that goes along with the pole replacement project.
So there's
I
no
would say yes.
There's no accelerated effort, right?
We are focusing more on pole replacements after our recent inspection program because we find out that there are more poles to address, and I can say we accelerated.
Okay. And then how many, I remember this feeder reconstruction going from 4 kV
Mhm.
to 12 kV. This has been going on. Every year you do a certain number of feeders. You said, I
Yes.
think 7 this past year. Are we almost done? How many feeders do we have?
We have 112 feeders. 50% of our feeders are 4 kV. The other 50% are like 12 kV. Last year, with the contract we had, we rebuilt 7 feeders.
Right.
These feeders are ready to be converted to 12 kV, but we need to write switching procedure and to convert them. We haven't converted, but they are ready to be converted. We need to get a new contract in place so we can initiate the rest of the feeders. I think there would be like 36 feeders left to rebuild them for 12.
If we're doing about 7 per year, we've got another 5 years
If
of,
we get a
this work?
contractor on board, our goal is to take care of 7 feeders.
and my last question, sorry for
Sure.
having so many
Yeah.
questions for you.
That's fine.
But do we measure the cost effectiveness of like adding to the tree trimming budget? I mean, do we say if we add a certain number of dollars to the budget, we're going to have X number of less outages and therefore we're going to have this many more revenues? Is that kind of an analysis done?
It would have a direct impact on the outages if we increase the budget, tree trimming budget, but we haven't tracked that down. We don't have that analysis.
Don't? Okay, I'm done with my questions. Thank you very much.
Maybe I should clarify. There may not be a direct one-to-one correlation in our comparisons, but there is intuition and experience that comes into knowing that if we are trimming back and staying ahead of the vegetation management, that you're less likely to have outages, you're less likely to have issues. There's less likely things to burn or to catch on the wires. So yes, we are looking at, yes, we do take a look at the impact, but you're right. Is it a direct correlation when we say that absolutely we're saving dollars here? No, it's just kind of what we do. It's part of the business.
Because when we have an outage, obviously it's an inconvenience to all the customers. Some customers lose money, especially those in retail and that kind of thing. But the utility also loses money, right? We lose revenues. We don't sell power during the outage. So, like, for example, if we doubled the tree trimming budget, would we have, instead of having, 9% or 11%, 9% of the outages are related to trees, would that knock it down to 4.5%? And would that result in greater revenues than the cost of the tree trimming?
Not all those trees are on our right of way. A lot of those trees are actually on properties. They could be hitting the drops. They could be hitting the poles in people's property.
Yeah.
So I guess we don't have access and or responsibility necessarily to be trimming the trees that are on the properties of the customers that own.
But you think that we have the optimal budget for tree trimming?
I think unless we're spending all of it before the end of the year, then it's optimal. And I don't think we are.
Don't tell me we can do nothing about the squirrels.
Well, I mean, there are different thought processes on the benefits of overhead to underground. I personally have a philosophy that if we can put it underground, we could always seal the conduits. There is problems with recovery time if there is a failure, but there are less failures usually.
But undergrounding in general is a lot more expensive than
Yes.
overhead.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Babakan, I have 2 questions about the tree trimming. Does Glendale have different tree trimming criteria for different fire hazard areas, like tier 2, tier 1, tier 3s?
We do visit these areas sooner than the other areas. Like if the cycle is every 2 years, in these areas we do 1.5 year. Recently, the Eaton fire that happened in that neighborhood, our crew, they plan to visit like every year. That was our new goal.
And the second question, it's about kind of in line with trees, but it's about covered conductors. Does Glendale use covered conductors in their overhead system?
Yes, we did install them in couple of areas. We are practicing that, but they're heavier conductors compared to bare, and we have to upgrade all the power poles, and stronger poles are needed.
And just from experience, the covered conductors are a really effective way to address any incidental contacts with palm fronds or vegetation and things like that. So I would really encourage you guys to consider that.
That's right. When you have heavier wires on power poles, when there's a windy situation, there's a bigger chance that the poles, they're going to fail.
So there, covered conductor does way more,
Yes.
which means you have to do more poles per span in
Yes.
order to reduce the weight, or at least to hold the weight. Or you have to change the type of poles you use in order to do that. It's not necessarily a bad idea. It can be a very good idea, especially as you look into the net impacts and exposure to risk that you have in the high fire zones. Luckily, we only have a couple of feeders and one line, I believe, that are actually in those tier 3 areas. But we are still looking at the option to trade, basically replace those cables with covered conductors, and what it might cost to do that. We, of course, would like to find somebody to help us pay for that. If we can get some federal assistance in that, or even state assistance, we are looking into it.
I have a question about the SAFE and SADI and KD charts. So I understand that different cities have different size, tree cover, lots of different factors, so it's not a direct comparison. But if we look just within Glendale, on the frequency, SAFE, it looks like we're about flat with where we were 5 years ago, and things went down a little bit, but they came back up, and it's about the same. So we'll say it's just flat. But on the other two indices, the duration of system or customer exposure to this problem has essentially doubled or almost doubled. And to me, it seems like, okay, the same number of bad things are happening, it's just taking us longer to respond to them. Is that an accurate interpretation of what this data says?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so.
And
Yes.
and so it's taking us longer to respond. The city's not getting bigger, right? The trees aren't growing that fast in 5 years. So what is changing? Like, what is slowing down our response time in the last 5 years? We're not hiring staff. We don't have positions filled. We don't have trucks ready to roll. Like, what is hampering our response time to these incidents?
I would link that to our resources. I think if we have more crew, the restoration time would be shorter and faster.
Okay. Do we have a target or an optimal or acceptable level? I mean, I'm sure we could spend $10 billion and have immediate responses, but that's not a good idea. Do we have a sense of what is the right number we're trying to hit and balance that with the public expenditure?
Yeah, President Fay and commissioners, yeah, we are looking at these numbers carefully. One of the things that's happened is, I don't know if the frequency shows it, but the windstorm issues that we get, the damages that occurred are sort of a little more severe, so that the restorations may take longer. So there is that factor that we didn't have before. As we know, we've had more windstorms, more storm-related issues. Same type of fault. Maybe the frequency hasn't changed, but the amount of damage that you get that you have to repair from. Again, resources would help. You can have more people working on it to restore. Vegetation management, as you said, is very important. We do that. Covered conductor, where we can, we do that. We are looking to find funds from the state to see if we can put in covered conductors and or undergrounding in some of these locations that are prone to failures because of winds and trees. I think Scott was right on, as he explained, some of the trees that we do trim, even if we double our budget for tree trimming, it's trees that are on private property lines. And that's what we saw with the wind events in January. It was trees that we would have cut back as much as we can, but the rest of it is on private property, and those toppled over into our lines. So there are always limits on what we're spending. We are looking at going back to our tier 3 zones more often. Increasing the budget for tree trimming is something we'll look at, but again, we have to see where we can be more effective. Do we need more resources? Yeah, you can always use more people to respond and have more crews there. and it depends some of these outages when they happen. If they happen on the weekend or at night, well, we only have the night trouble guys with 2 crew members. The rest have to be called out, so it would take longer if the outage was at night. Where if it happens in the middle of the day, you have all your 3 overhead crews on duty, they can respond quicker. So it just depends on when these events were occurring as well. Even though the frequency wouldn't have changed, the time when they occur may affect how we do this or when they happen. So, yeah.
That sounds like if we distill all of this down, there's essentially some relationship between how much money we're willing to spend on these things and what our target reliability is. And maybe that's ultimately something to consider in the budget process is, you know, what is the number we're trying to hit? Do we consider our current SAIDI level to be acceptable? You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it is. Are people complaining? I don't know.
We're always trying to improve. I think the 4 to 12 conversion, because that touches a lot of the infrastructure that's exposed to weather, that's what we're addressing by changing out the poles, the cross arms, the insulators. Everything gets touched and reviewed. So you end up putting a brand new section. Those are more reliable, as Catherine said. They're spread further apart because now they went from 4 to 12 kV, so things fall through, don't short. Where we have applicable conditions that we can apply, covered conductor. On our new contract for the conversion, we will also have covered conductor as one of the options. So we are improving our contracts to address that. Covered conductor will be in that contract now. So
Just to clarify a couple things. One is there's a holistic plan. Additional resources, system hardening, in general, where we're going to put the resources when and if we have them. Those are all part of the plan, and we are significantly looking at redoing the plan. You know, our past course of action has gotten us to where we are now. It's not going to get us to where we need to be later. So we have to look at everything again, and those are all the things that are under consideration.
That plan is a reliability plan, or is that,
In general, yes.
what plan are you referring to?
How we provide service to our customers, period.
And I think that we're quite reliable compared to Edison. Is that right?
Yes, but Edison has PSPS or planned system outages that they do just in case.
Yeah.
So I think more people are going to complain about having their power out without an event than they'll complain about having an outage and an event.
And we do not have any, I know PSPS came through the PUC.
Right.
We don't have any authority to do that in a high wind.
We have, that is a tool for us to use,
It is.
but we apply it like a scalpel, not like a hammer.
Yeah.
So if it's suitable and it makes sense to do it, we do it.
Did we do that during the Eaton fire, for example?
Well, during January 7th, when we had the red flag conditions, we do have lines that go over the mountain. We have a 34 kV subtransmission line. We did de-energize that. Again, because that line is not accessible by fire crews. There is no roads. It's in the mountain area. To play it safe, that one was turned off, and it was turned off until the weather was, again, favorable to put it back on. Again, we inspect it, but that does not turn off customers. It just turns off an extra feed into our substations. So,
I guess I was going to maybe you can comment on this, Dan. It just seemed, in general, we've had very good reliability as a municipal utility over the years, right?
yeah, in general, we fare pretty well with the neighboring utilities. Again, I think it's the weather events that have been recent that have been plaguing the area. One of the things we do have is we do have the mountainous with the trees areas that other cities don't. Burbank doesn't have that. It's mostly flat, so it wouldn't see the outages related to the trees. And our biggest event, January 7th, was trees getting into our lines.
And I think we all agree that we'll probably have more windstorms and more climate-related catastrophes or issues going forward, right? So
Yeah. Again, if the frequency, I don't remember exactly, if the frequency hasn't change that much than the amounts, but the type of outage, it seems more severe because of the higher wind events and stuff. Even just this weekend, we had a tree, because of the storm, we had this small windstorm, a tree fell into our lines. Again, you know, even though it's the ones we've already trimmed, but they fell from a private property into our lines, and we can't control that. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
My last comment on this one is I think since we're talking about the geography of the city and how it compares to others, it might be helpful to see how these outages or issues differ across different parts of Glendale, and whether that makes sense to chart it by zip code or by feeder, or whatever method you guys think makes sense. If we could include that as part of the next time we do this report, some kind of geographic overlay, so we can see, because it sounds like there's a big
Sounds like a good point. Yeah.
a big disparity across the city, and we might spend a lot of tree trimming in this neighborhood and none over here, right? Just because the land cover is different.
Yeah, thank you for the suggestion. That's a good point. Look at it at a GIS level to see where outages occur, and see
I
if
think it
there's
would
a pattern.
also help show the positive impact of the feeder replacement program, because as it stands now, we know that's having a positive impact, but it's kind of diffuse across the whole city, right? If we said we replaced all the feeders in this corner of Glendale, and as a result, the reliability is improved in this corner of Glendale, that's a much clearer one-to-one relationship.
Yep.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Thank
we'll go to the next item.
Item number 5B, biogas renewable project update.
Mr. Bashir is going to be giving his presentation on the status of the Shoal Canyon Biogas Renewable Generation Project.
Hello, President Fay, Commissioner Avedian, and Commissioner Flanagan. I'm going to be speaking to you about the Shoal Canyon Biogas Renewable Generation Project. It's a little update. I guess we can begin. So just a small recap, quick recap on the Shoal Canyon landfill. So it was opened in 1961 as pretty much a regional resource for collecting waste around the area, and through a JPA, Joint Powers Agreement, LA County Sanitation District does the maintenance and operation. So they pretty much run the facility. So as you see, hours of operation, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and on Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And the site accepts like green waste, clean asphalt, clean dirt, and the such. And you can see here is a little image from Google Maps. So the project scope, pretty much for this project, the goal is to install 4 generators, gensets, for a total of about 11 megawatts, and to use landfill gas, right? So pretty much currently, or we were just burning it. So we figured, might as well take advantage of this resource, this source of power, and to help the city and to help our renewable portfolio standard percentage. So Northeast Western Energy Systems, they're pretty much they are our vendor for the generators. So they provided us 4 Jenbacher landfill gas engines. Pretty much they produce 3 megawatts gross power output. In addition, part of their scope includes assembly and reassembly of the engine modules, bringing it onto site and installing it, as well as the sub-support equipment, such as the coolers, natural gas compressors, the emissions control system, and the such. ACO Engineer System is our EPC contractor. So they're doing the engineering, procurement, and construction of the site. So they're in charge of the balance of plant equipment, such as like the landfill gas cleanup, electrical connections, And yeah, so also the heavy lifting of the Jen Bacher engines. So they brought in a crane to pretty much put them in their place. And then also connecting it and doing the commissioning and testing. So the project budget, as of now, it's at 74.2 million. Contractually, the amount is 73.1 million. So as you can see, there's cost to our Northeast Western Energy Systems, our supplier of our gensets, as well as ACO, 45.8 million. And then other costs. So this would be the mitigation, monitoring and reporting programs. So a lot of our environmental programs, consulting, owners, engineers would fall under that other costs. And then we're estimating that operations and maintenance of the power plant would be about 2.5 million a year. And currently, our expenditures are at 39.3 million. As you can see here, this is a general arrangement layout of the site. All the way to the left, all the way to the right, you would see that there's that fire tank. So, and then in the middle, there's the gensets. I have a picture in a couple of slides so you can actually see it pretty much right there. It's really nice. And then some other components such as our PDC, and our cooling, our cleanup, and our office, which would be all the way on the left. Next. Okay, so this is a project site. The image on the left, you can see this is when we started. So this was the demolition and portion phase of the project. So pretty much kind of cleaning it up and setting staging for the construction. And on the right, you see this is the current status of the site. So you can see the 4 gensets, Jen Bacher sets in the back, and you can see right in front of it, that would be the power distribution center. They're working on the walls for it right now. And then you can see some other equipment laid out there. So yeah, so it's coming along really nicely. And yeah, so that was just a quick update. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, thank you.
Thanks for the presentation.
Welcome.
Commissioners, any questions?
You go ahead.
And one question, I'm not sure, Mr. Mellon, you can answer that, or forget your last name, I'm sorry.
Bashir.
Bashir, or Mr. Bashir, you can answer, but how many megawatt hours do we anticipate this to generate?
Thank you for the question. Total site is around 12, but with auxiliary loads and things like that, we expect to get 11 into the distribution system.
So do we anticipate the generation, the revenue that we get from generation to offset the cost, the $2.5 million a year?
For the operations, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a base load unit. It's running 24/7, so we're expecting to get around 11 megawatts into the system all day long for duration. We do also expect to see degradation in the supply of the gas from the landfill. So we have a plan out 20 years. We may actually get a few more years out of it than that, but we expect that at least 20 years worth. And it's declines in natural gas output, which means we're going to have to decrease the amount of gensets running, which means over time we'll have less than 11 megawatts from those units. So
Yeah, thank you. I'm just glad this project is happening. I know it's been a long time coming, so.
it has.
I guess just to follow on that, so are there any there are no seasonal variations in methane flow? We're just going to have a degradation over time.
Yep.
Is that the reason why we're putting in 4 units so that we can gradually use less of them?
Putting in 4 units to get as much as we can out on the front end of it, because we have an oversupply of gas in the beginning. So when you first set up and clean up the lines to make sure you're getting the full volumes out, there's actually a higher concentration of gas. So there'll be a peak point that exceeds our ability to burn it, and then it'll come down and that'll hit our sweet spot, and we should be at that for a while. And then as it comes down, we'll knock it down into reducing output from on one of the units or a couple units so we can stay at the most efficient levels possible.
And what is the anticipated start date for that, for the plant?
So as of right now, we're still in discussions to, I guess, due to some delays that we're experiencing, we're still in the discussions with ACO and trying to determine the proper or the substantial completion date. But it's still ongoing with some delays.
Like, approximately, is it a year out or 2 years out or 5 years out?
So I can tell you when it was originally meant to start. It was originally meant to start July 1st
Of this year?
this year.
So maybe another year?
We hope not.
You
But
hope
we're
not less
looking
than
at, we're attempting to coordinate this so that it is available before the end of the year. We are having issues with supply chain. We are having issues with particular products. And there's some work that we're doing with this vendor and lack of familiarity with it. So those are some hurdles that we're working on right now.
My last question is, there was a lot of neighborhood concern about this biogas project up at Shoal Canyon. And, do we have any way of, are we doing anything to inform, is it the Shoal Canyon neighborhood? There's a couple different neighborhoods that were quite outspoken and concerned about this. Are we doing anything to inform them, or are we inviting them up there for tours, or is there anything that we're doing to keep those neighbors kind of in the loop and as informed as possible?
Yeah, I'll take that one too. I think it's Glen Canyon.
Yeah, that is.
yeah. And they were intimately involved in this whole project from the get-go.
Yeah.
They have been associated with discussions. We've met with them personally up in that area a couple times, I believe, when the project was first coming online, or when we were first trying to get it settled and started. As far as tours, my predecessor, who was also an acting general manager, did take some people up there for a walkabout. Probably was not the right thing to do because it was an active site. So I think going forward, we won't be able to take people on an active site for tours, but I'm assuming at some point we might be able to take them up there after it's finished being built so they can see it. But we're in constant contact. Ms. Gish is constantly sending us questions.
She has me on her speed dial, I hate to say.
She's dedicated, and I appreciate that.
Understandably. Well, I would just, whatever you can do,
Yes.
I think often just keeping people informed is the very most important step.
Sure.
And then I'd like to add, we also have a website too that anyone could go onto it and kind of see the milestones, the project schedule, and they can even send an email or send a message to us, and we will respond to them, answer any questions they might have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the next step on the schedule update, it sounds like we're going to miss the peak summer this year.
Yes.
So that's certain. So
As of right now, yes.
So we'll have that contingency accounted for in our summer readiness planning?
Yes, it wasn't something we wanted to be looking for, but we are planning for it already.
Okay. Is there a chance we miss another summer based on the delays?
Well, I can give you my overly aggressive opinion on this, but I would say no way in hell.
Because I think what we found is that losing a month most of the year doesn't matter as much, but losing a month through August and September is really bad for us, right?
Exactly, yes. So not making it this summer stings, but we'll work through it. Missing next summer, that will not happen.
Okay, good. And then in terms of the financial performance of the project, the original budget versus our spending to date and what we project at completion, are we on track with the original estimate, or are we, 10% over, 20% over? Where are we on that?
I haven't done the calculation, but it is a little bit more now. Obviously, with the supply chain and cost of materials increasing and some of the delays, the project, the cost of the project is up, but nothing significant to be alarmed about at this time.
We're still staying within contingency so far.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think that's it for this item.
Thank you, commissioners.
Just a comment. You guys also have on your desk a copy of the APPA outage for the year of 2023. That's the latest one they have on their website, just for you to compare our categories and causes of outages. So they coincide. Yes, yeah. Just for your reference. That was just given to you. So, thank you.
You may want to clarify what APPA is, American Public
Oh,
Power
yeah.
Association.
Yeah, American Public Power Association. This is where all the city or municipalities are a member of. There's, I believe, 2,000
A
or
little
so.
over 2,000.
Yeah, so all that data is sent to them. So our data will be sent to them, and then they categorize it into a report. The 2025, so when I searched, this is the latest one they have on their website. So they haven't updated their information, but it's still valid. You can kind of see the causes of outages by location around the country, and then by region as well. So thank you.
Next item, item 6, action items. 6A, Clean Energy Programs Plan funded by the Public Benefit Charge PBC and the Lower Carbon Fuel Standard LCFS for fiscal year 2025 to 2026 and 2026 to 2027.
Ms. Soloyan, who's our Clean Energy Officer, will be giving a presentation on the PBC and LCSF along with her team.
Good evening, President Fay, Commissioner Avedian, Commissioner Flanagan. My name is Ruzan Soloyan, Clean Energy Officer, and today I'm here with our team, Aneta Badalian and Brian Salazar, to present on two distinct clean energy program portfolios. The first program portfolio is funded by public benefit charge funds, and it includes energy efficiency programs for residential and commercial customers, renewable energy programs, and income qualified programs. The second portfolio is funded by low carbon fuel standard funds, and it funds various transportation electrification programs and initiatives for both residential and commercial customers. Now our portfolio managers will present their respective program portfolios.
Good evening, Commissioners. President Fay, I'm Aneta Badalian, PBC Marketing Manager, and I'll be presenting the portfolio of PBC-funded programs. Should I start over?
Yeah, go ahead and
It's
start
on
over.
now, right? All right. Should I start?
Go ahead and start over. It's green.
Good evening, Commissioners. President Fay, I'm Aneta Badalian, PBC Marketing Manager, and I will be presenting our portfolio of PBC-funded programs. Public benefits charge is a state-mandated surcharge applied to electricity bills to fund public programs in the following 4 categories. Oops. Does it only go forward? Doesn't go back? Cost-effective energy efficiency, renewable energy, research, development, and demonstration, and low-income programs. Thank you. The current charge is 2.85% of electric revenues. The 2-year plan gets approved every 2 years by City Council. And the proposed budget for the next 2 years are $9.3 million for fiscal year 25-26 and $11.5 million for fiscal year 26-27. I will start with our residential energy, water efficiency, and conservation programs, first of which is the home energy and water saving rebates. This program provides rebates to purchase Energy Star and other approved energy and water saving appliances and devices through an online application portal. The program provides rebates for various appliances and measures such as clothes washers, dishwashers, and heat pump clothes dryers. The list includes various cooking appliances and heat pump technology being fairly new, and despite its high efficiency, the adoption rate is still low. Therefore, to contribute towards market acceleration, we're proposing to increase the heat pump water heater rebate from $1,000 to $4,000 starting in the next fiscal year. Staying focused on the goal of decarbonization, the rebate for heat pump HVACs will also be increased from $500 to $1,000 per ton, and we will no longer provide rebates for gas-powered central ACs. The program will provide an up to $1,000 rebate for electric panel upgrades that is paired with electrification. The next program, this will be the home water saving rebate, the GOP purchases most of the water supplied to our customers from Metropolitan Water District as one of its 26 member agencies. Therefore, in addition to energy rebates, GOP residential customers also have access to regional water conservation programs offered by MWD. This upcoming program will provide supplemental GOP funding to enhance Metropolitan Water District's regional rebates, further promoting energy water efficiency in Glendale. Rebates are available for various indoor and outdoor water conserving devices, such as premium high-efficiency toilets, weather-based irrigation controllers, and high-efficiency clothes washers. Some additional measures are soil moisture sensors, rain barrels, and different size cisterns. The direct install turf replacement for disadvantaged communities program will be another collaboration with MWD. GWP will participate in this small-scale program for disadvantaged communities, which will provide funding for 10 turf replacement and drought-tolerant landscape installations in Glendale during the next 2 fiscal years. The Home Energy Water Saving Upgrades Program will evaluate the energy and water efficiency of customers' homes, install energy and water-saving devices, and provide recommendations for additional improvements. The program will evaluate and install measures such as LED lighting, sensors, timers, window film installation, and various water-saving measures. The program will include HVAC system maintenance, temperature setting programming, and will offer concierge services to help customers access additional local, state, and federal incentives for further energy and water upgrades. The Home Energy Reports and Usage Presentment provides usage data and personalized insights on energy use. Customers receive a home energy report every 2 months, which provides an analysis of their usage during the prior 2 months, and it compares their usage to similar homes. Customers enrolled in the program also receive weekly energy updates and high bill alerts. The Tree Power program offers eligible single-family customers up to 3 shade trees to help reduce energy consumption and enhance neighborhood aesthetics. By strategically planting these trees, customers can lower their AC costs by 10 to 50%. Participants can select from 30 different tree varieties, and a program arborist assists in choosing optimal planting locations to maximize shading benefits. Each tree is delivered semi-matured with necessary planting materials and instructional resources, all at no cost to the customers. Moving on to business programs, the Business Energy Solutions Program helps medium and large businesses implement energy-saving upgrades through financial incentives. Eligible businesses can receive up to $100,000 per year for energy-efficient improvements, including lighting, HVAC, etc. The Business Customer Engagement Portal will provide business customers web access to their electric usage information from their AMI meters via green button download. The tool will empower business customers to monitor and manage their energy usage. Customers will receive proactive alerts and energy usage updates. The commercial energy and water saving rebates, this is a new program for us. It will provide rebates to commercial customers for the purchase of approved energy and water saving appliances and devices through an online application portal. The proposed rebates are for various kitchen appliances and measures such as cooktops, hot food holding bins, cabinets, and reach-in freezers and refrigerators. Substantial rebates are being proposed for ovens, broilers, and dishwashers. And keeping decarbonization in focus, heat pump water heaters and heat pump HVACs are of course included in this list. GWP is committed to advancing water conservation through enhanced support of MWD's regional rebate programs. To address historically low participation among GWP's commercial customers, we are proposing the allocation of supplemental funding to promote the adoption of energy and water efficient technologies. This initiative aims to reinforce conservation outcomes while providing meaningful support to the local business community. Some measures I'd like to mention are premium high-efficiency toilets, weather-based irrigation controllers, and soil moisture sensors. The list includes cooling tower controllers, dry vacuum pumps, and steam cookers. GLP will match MWD's rebate for air-cooled ice-making machines and bring the total rebate to $2,000. Next, we have the Small Business Direct Install Program, which will again be a new program this year. It will help local small businesses lower their energy and water bills through free energy, water assessments, and efficiency upgrades. Eligible businesses will receive a personalized assessment and direct installation of measures such as LED lighting, smart thermostats installation, and low-flow faucet aerators. This program will also provide energy and water education and make it more affordable for small business to operate efficiently. The In-School Energy and Water Conservation Education Program provides an energy and water education to 6th grade students within their school curriculum. Besides online lessons, students take home conservation kits with them, with energy and water efficient products. After conducting an energy and water assessment at home, they install the measures with the help of their parents. Program participants realize ongoing energy savings and behavioral changes with respect to conservation efforts. The program is designed to instill lasting habits in students, empowering them to become active participants in conserving vital resources. Moving on to energy assistance programs, Glendale Care provides qualified low-income customers a $35 a monthly discount on their bill. The Helping Hand program assists qualified low-income customers who are experiencing a temporary financial emergency and having trouble paying their utility bill with a one-time $150 bill credit. The Guardian program provides a monthly bill discount for household members using doctor-prescribed medical equipment, and there are 3 levels of discount based on the estimated electric consumption of the medical equipment. And lastly, we have our renewable energy programs, first of which is the photovoltaic and energy storage interconnection application portal. Power Clerk allows customers to interconnect their net energy metering eligible solar systems and energy storage systems to be notified of the interconnection approval process every step of the way. This is a great tool that we've been utilizing since 2016. It's user-friendly and provides transparency throughout the whole interconnection process. Next, we have the Off-Peak EV Charging Incentives Program, which incentivizes electric vehicle owners to charge their EVs during off-peak hours. And we propose to increase the monthly incentive to $15 a month, starting with the next fiscal year. So this would be an increase from 12 to 15, and then we propose to increase it to $20 a month for fiscal year 26-27. Additionally, incentive issuance frequency will change from annual to semi-annual. And lastly, we are proposing to launch a new demand response program in fiscal year 26-27. The program will offer residential and small business customers an upfront incentive for enrolling their smart thermostat and annual incentives for participating in the peak events during the program season. The smart thermostats will curb energy use from the customer's air conditioner or heat pump during peak events and reduce electric grid load and keep energy costs low. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. Now we will transition to my coworker Brian's presentation on our Southwest programs.
Thank you, Vanetta. Good afternoon or good evening, Commissioner Fay or President Fay, Commissioner Avidian and Flanagan. I'm Brian Salazar, Business Transformation Manager. I'm going to review the Low Carbon Fuel Standards, or LCFS, programs that fund a number of our programs. So LCFS is part of the California Air Resources Board. It's a program that GWP has participated in since 2017. And during that time, GWP has earned about 134,000 credits, and we've sold about 80,000 credits. So we do have a balance to continue funding our programs for the next few years. Annual budget for 25-26 is 2.1 million, 26-27 is 2.9. This table shows a summary of our LCFS funded programs, and we're going to transition through the rest of the presentation in this order, but there's 9 programs here that just shows the budget again, 2.1 and 2.9. So first one here is the Electrical Vehicle Supply Equipment Program, EVSE, or otherwise we call it the city-owned public EV charging infrastructure. We currently have 11 locations with 84 charging ports. One system just came online earlier this year, January, February, up at the sports complex, and that has 6 chargers total. Our budget for 25-26 is $500K, and the budget for the following year is $1 million. And we expect to grow our charging port infrastructure by about 15 to 25 ports per year. Next program is the Residential EV Charging Station Rebate Program. Depending on income qualifications, we offer $200 to $700 for level 2 EV chargers, and same thing, depending on income qualifications, $800 to $1,000 for electrical panel upgrades. Budget is $75,000 per year. Excuse me. Projected annual growth is 100 EV charging ports per year. So essentially, with this program, we get 1 rebate per 1 charger. So we anticipate funding 100 homes with that program. Next program is similar to the previous. This one is a EV rebate charging program for commercial and multifamily properties. Significantly more available in funds for these rebates. We offer $50,000 or 50% of the project cost, or $75,000 or 75%, depending on which is less. That's also, there's some qualifications there. So income is one of them. So if the commercial or multifamily property is in a low income area, you qualify for that 75%. There's some other qualifications, like if you make it public and so on and so forth. Our budget for 25-26, well, both years, is $1 million per year, and we anticipate funding approximately 125 EV charging ports per year out of that project. These projects range from 2 charging ports up to, I think I've seen 14 or 16 at each location, so it just varies, and so therefore the rebate varies significantly as well. Okay, we have a new program that we are going to be rolling out. So this is the pre-owned EV rebate program. Based on income qualifications, we will offer this to Glendale residences. And as I mentioned, program is in development, but the range that we're looking at providing is $1,500 to $2,500 per vehicle. So as you see here, we don't have a budget for the coming year, but we will be working on getting this program funded and in development for 26-27 for $500,000. Based on the target rebate amount, we're thinking we can fund about 380 EVs per year. And the intent of the pre-owned EV rebate program is to really just continue to foster the adoption of EVs and open it up to a broader demographic in our city. I'll note that in 2023, the CEC reported Glendale having just under 14,000 EVs. In 2024, the number jumped up to 20,000. So most of those are new. We're anticipating some of those being sold, and we anticipate helping people buy their first EV secondhand through this program. The next program is the California Clean Fuel Reward Program. This is a program we've participated in for a few years. It was also a CARB initiative to increase EV adoption. That program is coming to an end, for us at least. We have budgeted $300,000. We're not sure if we're going to be in the program next year. Oops. But that's what we have budgeted. So most likely we will not see this program next year. And that's a California-funded program. Next program is the web-based customer guide to electric vehicles. So on our website, we have a link to this buyer's guide, basically, that allows customers to shop online for electric vehicles. There's some tools there that helps you maximize your incentives. You can locate charging stations through maps, and then you can also shop for level 2 chargers online. The budget there each year is $27,000. We also have an e-bike rebate program. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. This is the EV and e-bike guest drive event. So we offer this turnkey program to allow customers to come out and test drive vehicles, electric vehicles, without the pressure of like a salesman being there pressuring you to buy. So our budget for that has been $140,000 per year. We are anticipating dropping our budget a little bit, but not dropping the service. We are collaborating with Pasadena and Burbank with this program in particular to offer the same number of guest drive events, but take turns hosting the events. We've done a number of them, and so have our peers in our neighboring cities. And we feel that we will get more bang for our buck if we collaborate. I think it's good for our networking as a local utility group as well. And it just makes more sense staff-wise. Trying to do 3 of these a year is quite time-intensive, and I don't think the payoff is as good. So if we narrow it down, save some money, collaborate with our peers, I think it's a win-win for all. And then finally to the bikes. Can you tell I love bikes? I was trying to put that up there right in the beginning. But the e-bike rebate program, income qualified for $300 to $400. Budget is $40,000 this coming year. We're going to bump it up to $50,000 because the program is really doing well. We anticipate more people getting on bikes, and the projected annual growth for these rebates is 125 to 150 a year. And then last but not least, we have a new program, Vehicle to Grid Study. Basically what we want to do is assess the feasibility of vehicle to grid technology. We've talked about this before and the importance of it, the potential importance that it can have on our distribution grid. But we need to assess the feasibility of that happening. So we're going to put together the RFP, solicit that, and then should have that in place by 26, 27 for a PSA with a consultant to help us assess that technology. This is included here for your reference if you want to drill down into any of our program links. And then we will take questions, but before I forget, I wanted to ask for your endorsement and your recommendation by moving the motion and recommending our programs to City Council. Thank you.
Great presentation, a lot of content here. Commissioners, any questions? Anyone wants to jump in? Ted, you want to go first? Or I can go first this time if you want.
Go ahead.
I'll do a few. I've got a lot, so maybe I'll need a little break. Overall, I think this is all great stuff. Like, these are great programs to be spending money on. So I have some pointed comments, but it's not about the substance. It's really about how do we make this decision and making sure that we're being good stewards of the public money and that we have the right information to present to this body and ultimately to the City Council, so we know if this is gonna work. I think the presentation is a great laundry list of what we're doing, but it's lacking some strategic analysis and insight about why we're doing these things. Maybe you guys can speak to this, but this, as far as I can see, is about a $10 million a year program. We have a lot of flexibility in how we spend this within the 4 pillars of the state law. how do we tie this to our department goals and strategies? How do we know which programs are working from previous years? Did we spend all the money on these programs last year? Are there programs we're canceling? You know, I think that's the kind of thing I would like to see more, is if we're managing this as a portfolio, how do we assess all the different things in our portfolio? If these were individual stocks in our retirement fund, which ones do we want to buy more of? Which ones do we want to dump? So that's part is I don't see any of that in this presentation. I think that would be really helpful for us to understand why are we recommending this set of things and not this other set of things. So maybe you guys want to speak to that kind of in general before we get any more particular questions.
Thank you for the question, President Fay. When we assess our existing programs, we always first look at cost effectiveness, and there are several ratios that we always take a look when we design new programs or when we have existing programs. For this specific portfolio, we tried to keep a balance and provide programs for all of our customer sectors and have impactful energy and water conservation across all the entire community while staying cost effective. So for example, all the rebates that you saw in the presentation, we used energy modeling to run cost effectiveness tests to make sure that our entire portfolio stays cost effective and we comply with all state regulations. That's the first consideration that we take. And when we presented these new rebate programs, that was mainly because, for example, we do not have rebates for our commercial customers, and we believe that there is a need, especially with our small businesses, and to make our portfolio and offerings more equitable across the community. We are bringing these new offerings and rebates to our community. For income qualified programs, for example, we already have 12,000 customers participating and receiving rate discounts, so we didn't make that many changes over there. But we looked also at our past programs, for example, demand response programs, and we will be learning from those experiences, trying to make our existing and future programs more cost effective. By learning from those experiences, trying to be more cost effective and extending our offerings across the community to be more impactful. So that's our main goal. So to summarize my comments, first we are looking at cost effectiveness, and then we're trying to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and then having impactful programs for the entire community, residential and commercial customers.
So I think I'll take you at your word on that, but I think it would be helpful to show your work a bit more and say, for this program, here's the dollars per kilowatt hour saved, and here's our reference. It's either from the last 5 years' performance or some industry benchmark or whatever. I think that would go a long way for showing that there is a lot of intentionality and rationale behind this set of programs, because I think the risk is, if you present this to the city council and it looks like a somewhat arbitrary list of things, then someone might say, well, you know, get rid of that one, you know, and add this one. And you don't want politicians making those choices on the fly. We want technical experts who spent the time studying it, making those recommendations for the council to consider. So I don't know how you're going to present this to the council. I would find the current presentation to be not compelling, to say like, yes, sign this away as it is, because we just don't have the information to say like, this is the best possible combination of things for us to support. Now, being said, there's good stuff here for sure, but should we spend more on whole house fans and less on leaf blowers? Like, I have no idea. I have no way to make that decision, you know? So that's, I think, just the general question. Some metrics that I think would be helpful for each of these, whatever the cost effectiveness metric is, the number of customers who we served with this program in the last few years, maybe show some trend. Did we spend all of the budget that we had for these programs in the past years? You know, if we had a similar rebate and it was oversubscribed last year, that's good to know. If it was undersubscribed, that's good to know. You know, those kinds of things I think would be helpful to be more transparent with that kind of information.
Thank you. We have all that information, and we will include all the cost effectiveness and summary tables in the presentation. It's just we did not want to go into too many technical details because we had a presentation with 40 slides.
Yeah,
so
I
we
think
did not want
I
to
understand.
overwhelm.
It's a tough balance. Maybe there's an appendix where there's just some really ugly table that has all the information. For me, and again, maybe as the composition of our commission changes, I think you'll find you have some fairly technical people here. I think, at least for me, I would rather have more information. I know Ted asked a lot of really pointed questions, and you're a power systems engineer, so I know you can handle it. Don't pull back, okay? We don't need cute slides. We would rather have more information, I think. So,
Okay.
So I'll kind of pass it over to you, Ted.
Sure, thank you, and thank you for your presentations. Yeah, I'd echo what President Fay has said. As I reviewed these slide decks, I didn't have enough information to make a recommendation to the council members that appointed me to this commission. I've been in this business for a long time. We always would lay out how many megawatt hours we project we're going to save from these programs, how many peak kilowatt hours we project we're going to save. I felt, yeah, that was sort of one of the primary, those are some of the primary metrics that I just thought were completely lacking. Similarly, I mean, just some basic things, like you have a breakdown. There's four aspects of public benefits charges: energy efficiency, renewable energy, RD&D, low income. I never saw a table to see like which of those where is our money going? I guess I could kind of piece it back together with some of the low income programs, but I think a breakdown would be very good. And what are the participation levels that we've had? I'd like to see some trends analysis with these things. Are we, we used to track what Sacramento Municipal Utility District was doing in terms of energy efficiency public benefits programs compared to their peak demand. And they were hitting like 6 and 7% at times in the heyday of demand side management. And most utilities are doing 1 or 2%. I have no idea what we're achieving here in Glendale based on what I've been told here. Are our programs attracting more people? Are we getting greater levels of savings? I don't know. So those are the metrics that I would certainly like to see as we go forward. You mentioned cost effectiveness. Do you know what test you're using for cost effectiveness?
We use several tests. We use TRC, total resource cost, program administrator cost, program participant cost.
Okay.
And we look at the ratios, and we look at the portfolio level, and we make sure that our TRC stays above 1. Yeah. And for some measures, they might be not that cost effective, but they may bring more value to the community. So we try to balance our portfolio and make sure that the entire portfolio stays cost effective across those tests.
And if you had to guess, what percentage of our customers did we hit last year? Forget the low income side, just on the efficiency, renewables, and the RD&D. What percentage of our customers do we hit? Or what percentage participated in the programs?
Across all of the programs that we have, probably we hit for residential, not low-income customers, maybe 1,000 customers. I think that's. I don't have the numbers between, but I think that's a fair.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot. I mean that, but I think that would be an interesting number. And if we hit 1,000 last year, what was it a year before that, or what was it the year before that? Are we trending up or are we trending down? And again, it's not just participation, it's penetration. What do we do in terms of saved megawatt hours on an annual basis, on a cumulative basis? What about our peak KW savings? Those are pretty standard in the business, I think, to lay out there for decision makers. I have a few more detailed questions. As I get into, let me hold on for a second. Demand response programs, are they funded through the public benefits program?
Yes, we currently, actually for our previous program, Franklin, it was funded by electric revenues. But for our new proposed program, we propose funding it with public benefit charge funds.
Right. So I know that the council members that appointed me have been very focused on demand response. I know that when I was on the commission before, we were falling way behind on our goals. And I was curious to see this report or hear this report. How are we doing now? I have no idea whether we attracted. I used to run a large demand response program for PG&E. We worked with lots of major customers. We had major levels of savings. We communicated with them when we were experiencing peak events or before we anticipated peak events, and we had a lot of, there's a lot of interaction there. And I don't know whether, maybe you could comment on that, whether we have achieved our goals with demand response for our larger customer groups or not.
So, Commissioner Flanagan, our program has ended, as you probably know, at the end of last year. The 4-year term with Franklin ended, and
Franklin
I can
contract.
give you the statistics for the performance during those 4 years, if that's.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Are we generally,
we
are we
did
hitting our
not-
targets or not?
We did not. We did not hit that goal of 10 megawatts. At its peak, we had 2.7
Right.
megawatts under control during the last season. We had about 31 events during those 4 years. We had an average delivery of savings of about 1.8 throughout those years. At peak, we had 2.1 2.1 megawatts. And the overall savings was 221 megawatt hours.
Yeah.
So the savings itself was at that level.
And demand response is so attractive. I mean, you just talked about this coming summer. We talked about, unless hell freezes over, next summer we won't have as much of a problem. We'll have the shoal, but the biogas project. But demand response is just a terrific way of addressing our peak demand. And I don't think we've been anywhere near as aggressive as other utilities have. And it's just a super cost-effective, I think a super cost-effective thing to do.
That has not been the case with our first try, so that's why we're trying to bring back a demand response program that will be more cost-effective.
It seemed like, am I right that the new program is for residential and small commercial, right?
We see more potential there.
And we've dropped off the large commercial
Correct.
for now, because we didn't succeed. Okay, important. On the photovoltaic side, this is all my favorite stuff, you can tell. But on the photovoltaic side, I see the online the PowerClerk online applications. Am I gathering correctly that we have no incentive right now for PV and no incentive for storage?
That is correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And, which I would take gross exception to. I've advocated before in the city of Glendale that I think we can drop the incentives for PV, but I think we ought to have incentives for energy storage, especially when there's a modicum of utility control that allows us, again, at those peak events to call on those customers. Annetta, is our net energy metering equivalent to the state's net energy metering 1.0?
It is.
So I commend us for doing that. While the rest of the state, the investor-owned utility has gone from NEM 1 to 2 to net billing, which is a disaster for the distributed solar industry. Thankfully, Glendale is hanging in there and providing the full retail value on the export credits, right?
For now.
Well, you say for now with a little smile. That's the way the investor-owned
that's-
utilities have been,
Yeah.
too.
I can go into deeper detail if you'd like.
Could you?
Oh, yes. I mean, California itself has issued reports that show that there is a significant impact to low and moderate income families and housing. So we do have to consider the impact of low and moderate income, especially on M1.
Other reports have shown that the utilities are cranking up their transmission and distribution charges, and actually rates in California have gone way up overall because of, largely because of the transmission. So, but that's an aside
Is that an IOU?
in the investor-owned utility.
There it is. Yeah. Well, the
So I would
IOUs
just
represent,
encourage us to, there are terrific benefits of distributed solar
Mhm.
for local jobs, for resilience, not to mention for the climate. It keeps the utilities from having to build more power plants. There's tremendous benefits in terms of avoided costs. So I'd like to see us be strong on this front. Maintaining net energy metering 1.0 is good. And again, I would like to see us add incentives for storage so that we can use the customer, and much like a virtual power plant, you be able to draw upon customers at those peak periods.
well, it might be worth reminding Commissioner Flanagan that we're actually installing 75 megawatts worth of batteries in our backyard.
I'm proud of what we're doing at Grayson, and I think we ought to be doing that through our community as well. And there's many of us that are solar customers that would be willing to add batteries and provide a modicum of control to the utility during the peak periods. Just a few questions on low carbon fuel standards. Is it Brian, are we earning those from our municipally owned EV chargers and then from our own municipal fleet of EVs and then from the new e-bus? Or are there other sources of those credits?
Thank you, Commissioner Flanagan. We are earning those credits based off of the registration, EV registered vehicles in the city of Glendale.
Okay. And you said maybe we have as many as 20,000 right now?
Yeah, we have more than 20,000 now. At the end of March, we had a little over 20,000, and we've been growing from fiscal year 24. We grew from roughly 14,000 to 20,000, so 6,500 a month on average, I guess.
And you must be projecting a similar trend?
Yes, we are in
And
the
so-
credit value. Yes.
And are we keeping up then? Are our incentives for private EV chargers keeping up with that growth? Or
Private EV charge, yes. So just to provide some little more context for what you were asking and also what President Fay was asking for. So one of the decisions we made mid-year was to increase the funding. We had funding available from other programs that were not getting participation levels that we expected. And so we increased the funding for the commercial program because we had a lot of interest in that. And looking at the analysis of the lifetime cost, we have a roughly 179 commercial charges that we've funded. The average cost of our rebate program that we've funded those commercial EV chargers out of, average cost per port is about $6,000. Now, when you look at and compare that to the average cost per port of city-owned, which, note, it includes maintenance that I'm not including in this upfront cost, but the cost for us to install level 2 chargers is about $10,000. So it's better to put our money in to boost up the commercial program. One, because there's a demand for it, and two, we get more bang for our buck, and we don't have to maintain it. And it helps community members who are investors or who have businesses, who own multifamily residents and businesses, adopt EVs for their employers who may not live in a home or an apartment that have EVs. So that's an example of what analysis that we've done to make decisions that are right for our community.
That's not the residential EV charging.
That's commercial and multifamily.
That's like multifamily and commercial. And
Yep.
that's where the biggest bang for the buck is in terms of serving.
That's correct. I think they're both valuable. They just serve a different purpose.
So just to clarify, that's like fewer level 2 chargers at parking lots, at parks, and more in parking structures in apartment buildings?
Nope, totally different funds. We have the funds to do both. So I wouldn't say we're focused on doing less at public facilities. In fact,
So what are we doing less of that freed up the money that from other PVC programs?
I think there was more money than what there was more money in the fund for residential EV chargers than the participation rate. And so we could easily back off of that, fund the commercial side, and still be able to meet our obligations on both sides.
Thank you.
That's it for me for now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I have a few questions. Generally speaking, I want to echo my fellow commissioners' comments on the concept. I mean, for me, it's hard to know what program is actually working, what is not working. I trust you guys have the background information, so it will be good for us to know. And I have some specific questions. You mentioned that the PBC rate currently is 2.85. And I do see an increase on the budget from year to year. Is that just the natural growth based on revenue, or you're proposing an increase to the PBC rate?
Commissioner Avedian, the PBC rate was actually decreased to 2.85 recently in November of last year. That increase that you're seeing from year to year is due to expected revenues. So to answer, no, it's not.
Just natural rate, energy rate increase. And another question about the LCFS. If you can please go to the slide about LCFS revenue or the budget. Yep. So my understanding is the LCFS credit value has been decreasing, but I do see an increase. Is that because of the anticipated more EV adoption by customers that we get more credits, even though the value of each credit is decreasing?
Thank you, Commissioner Avedian. Our budget doesn't necessarily, this 2.1 million and 2.9 million budget doesn't necessarily reflect the credit value at this point. We have sufficient credits and we're generating credits to not have to budget just year to year based on the credits that we earn. As you can see, we have a balance of about 60,000 credits roughly, and we're earning over 8,000 credits a month. We report quarterly and get those. So this budget doesn't reflect that necessarily.
Okay. So basically, we have enough LCFS revenue coming in to cover the proposed budgets for the next couple of years.
Yes.
Thank you. And as far as the commercial EV charging, I commend you for that. I think it's a good way to do that. One question is, I think it was like total budget per site was about 75,000 or so, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so the math comes out for each EV charging port in our multifamily and commercial portfolio, we've spent about $6,000. It varies from each site. Some sites are very cost effective, some cost a little bit more, just because of the additional infrastructure that goes into powering up these systems. Some properties have the power needed and some don't, and in some of those cases it was a pretty hefty project, but on average the cost has been $6,000 per port.
Okay, so if a commercial customer comes in and they're installing, let's say 20 level 2 chargers, they cap, even though each one is 6,000, there's a cap.
Well, we don't advertise the average price. It's really up to the customer to do their homework and find the contractor that's going to give them the best deal. I can share that if they ask. I wouldn't necessarily do that. Okay. It's more for our budgeting purposes. I mean, it's out in the open now, but
yeah. I know, for example, some other utilities, they do say, for example, this much money for each charger with a cap. But
right.
As far as the EV charger, our own installations, are we focusing more on level 2 chargers or level 3 or both?
We're focusing on both. If you look at our portfolio, you would say that we're focusing on level 2 because we have 79 level 2s and we have 5 level 3s. Wouldn't say the focus is more on either one. I think just the reality of installing one versus the other is easier. Obviously, level 2 is easier. There's a lot fewer infrastructure upgrades to do on level 2. Fast chargers are a different game. And so we're actually coordinating with Public Works on future parking lot improvement plans. They've got roughly 40 or so parking lots. There's a number of them that need attention in some way. And so we're coordinating those schedules so that when they have a project coming up, capital project for their parking lots, we're going to be looking at EVs, whether it's appropriate to do level 2s or level 3s, in addition to solar. So we have those projects going on at the same time, as opposed to, say, GWP coming along and saying, hey, I want to do solar on your parking lot, and then trying to work through, okay, how do we get this parking lot up to code or repaired or whatever we need to do ahead of their intended schedule. What we want to do is work together collaboratively on the same timeline to save money, one, and then just to make it make sense project-wise.
And final question, out of the 5 DC fast chargers that we do have, how many do work right now?
Zero.
Is
Zero
that
right now. And I have a little background history on that, which you might be alluding to. Our previous network provider, Shell, left the game for municipalities. We weren't anticipating that so soon, so we're in the process of replacing that PSA. As a result of those going offline, those chargers were not able to be set in a mode that we could use them without them being networked. So they had to be networked. So those are currently off.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm puzzled by this because Shell is offering DC fast charging in other cities. I'm working with another city right now, and we're signing a contract for over 40 DC fast chargers. For Shell, I think it's just a different business model. I think the chargers that we have in town now were purchased by the city of Glendale. And then there's a contract with Shell to maintain them and to pay for the software and handle all the billing. But are you aware of that Shell does offer DC fast charging? We're working on a deal right now with the city, no money down to the city at all. We pre-negotiated the price of power being sold to the customers, and Shell is handling all the electrical upgrades, paying for all the electricity, doing all the maintenance on the chargers, and it seems to me like a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it seems weird. Thank you for bringing that up. I know Shell has a number of business ventures, as you all know. The communication we got from Shell was that Shell is no longer supporting any municipalities in their EV
That's not
ventures.
right. That's just not right. I can just tell you definitively, that is not right. They've shifted the business model from the city owning the chargers to a model where Shell and their financier, which is called Equilon, owns the chargers, maintains the chargers. And so I don't know why we wouldn't just flop over and do that deal.
Yeah, well, I guess the reason why we're not flopping over and doing that deal is that's not the communication we got from Shell. And I will mention also, based off of our maintenance history with Shell, we wouldn't stay with them anyway. The relationship was
We
not.
put out an RFP and we had multiple EV charging vendors that offered us similar arrangements. So I don't think it's, and we're, in my consulting work, we're going almost exclusively to DC fast chargers, which is of course what everybody wants. So maybe you and I can swap notes on that if you like, but
I would like that, yeah, thank you.
I think we've been told different things, but I have up to date, as opposed to like yesterday, information that they're definitely in the business. It's just a different business model.
Yeah, if I may, so the utility I work with, we did receive the same message from Shell Recharge that they're dropping service and they're not providing any service. So that's why we had to switch over to another back office provider.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing they're just focusing on their own chargers rather than providing service to somebody else's chargers.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Just to close out the level 3 discussion, I think it would be great if next time we talk about the effectiveness or the functionality of level 2 and level 3, the number of dispensers is a little bit misleading. As you said, it looks like we're doing more level 2s, but they're much cheaper. They serve much fewer people. I think we should figure out a metric that can compare them on a fair basis of number of kilowatt hours dispensed or number of drivers, number of users, something like that can help us establish some equivalence between the fact that a level 3 might cost 10 times as much, but it's 100 times more effective or something like that, you know? So.
Thank you for that. You and I have spoken enough to know that we think a lot alike as far as like analytics. And I'll share with you that by the end of 2024, our monthly, revenue, I'm not speaking in terms of kilowatt hours, but our monthly revenue, which is proportional to the usage or the energy dispensed. But the monthly revenue in December of 2024 was equivalent to the annual revenue of 2023. So you can see how much the energy dispensed has increased in just 2023 to 2024. And we'll continue to see those numbers increase.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, just a couple of years ago, you could pull up to a Tesla supercharger anywhere and there'd be half the slots available, and now they're almost all full. And it has to do with opening up that standard to more and more electric cars. So anyway, so coming back to the public benefit stuff, a couple more specific comments I wanted to share. The water heaters changed. That's fantastic. They're very, very expensive to install. I went through it. It's plumbing, it's electrical, it's getting rid of your old gas line. It's a beast. And when you're presented with the cost of doing the right thing for the environment, and it costs 8 times more than just buying a crappy gas water heater that has its own rebates from the gas company, it's really easy. It's really tempting for customers to just, oh, I'll just do another gas. So like this is really important to get people to make that switch. I would suggest that when we're making that very generous incentive, $4,000, we put a few strings on it, and maybe on the EV incentives as well for homes, that we plan for some future demand response, some future, modicum of control. I like the way you put that. It's very non-threatening. But if there was a grid emergency and we need to save a megawatt and we can turn off everyone's water heater and EV for an hour, that would be really valuable to us, and they probably wouldn't even notice. So I'm not saying we do that now. I know that's a big change, but if we're going to be giving customers free money to go buy stuff, I think we should set some minimum standard that says, if you want this $4,000 rebate, your water heater has to have this, DR capable modem or whatever, right? Mine has one, doesn't do anything because we don't have a program for it, but I would be happy to give you a modicum of control over my water heater. So I think electric vehicle chargers in the same boat, and maybe even some other appliances or things. I'd encourage you to look through the whole roster of what we're supporting, which things might we want to consider adding a little asterisk that says, if you want our money, you have to play ball, right? Of the 4 categories for the public benefits charge, which of the ones we listed do we consider to be research, development, and demonstration?
Currently, we do not have any programs that fall in that category, and historically, across many other utilities, that's the sector that utilities spend the least. Okay.
I think that's a problem. I think there's a lot of questions we have, a lot of problems we'd like to solve for our customers, for the industry, that we can be a leader on. And we have this opportunity. So I would challenge you guys to go back and say, can we cobble together some savings from these different programs and say we have some amount of money as a baby step towards a research and development program. And we don't need to have a bunch of scientists here that are developing new technologies. That's not our role. But we could do things like an open call for projects that says anyone who has an idea that can save at least this much energy at this level of cost effectiveness, here's an open call for projects, and we'll do it, or whatever, right? We could take the results of the consultant study about vehicle to grid and say, we're gonna give 10 freebies out to get 10 customers in 10 different neighborhoods a chance to try it, or something like that. There's a lot we could do that helps move our utility goals forward. And I think the fact that we're not doing anything in that area is a miss. And so I'd like to suggest that we correct that, and you guys can think about what are the best, R&D and demonstration projects to do that. But I think we should have something, because it's another 2-year cycle, and if we let this horse out of the barn, we'll be 2 years down the road before we get another opportunity. Any thoughts about that?
I do. So first off, I want to thank you guys for all the input. All of it's very valid. It's very helpful. We'll take you back and consider it. And you get some really good points about showing why we're doing and recommending what we are recommending. I think at the core of all the work that we're doing is, we're looking at reducing greenhouse gas. We're looking at reducing peak load if we can do that. We're looking at moving people into electrification, adopting that and helping. And we're looking at improving efficiencies and reducing costs. So a lot of this is focused at people's ability to reduce their overall cost, because we got a very loud message from the community when our rates went up, and they talked about the impact of those rates, and that those are real rate impacts, right? It hits the pocketbook. It hits, maybe I don't get to go out to eat twice in 1 week. Maybe it's once a week, or maybe it's not at all. So those are real. And that's part of the thought process that we've rolled into this. When we're talking about R&D, I have been a part of multiple projects that are R&D styled that have not gone well for municipalities because you don't have the customer base to make them work well. So if we're going to do some type of R&D project, if we really are, and it's not going to be demand management. If we're going to do something like controlling load, which I think is probably a doable one. We talked about edge devices that gave us the ability to manage load, and whether it's car chargers or EV or water heaters. That might make sense. That's a pretty large-scale event, right? But I think something like that could roll into an advanced distribution management system, additional software, something that actually moves the utility and customers who are funding the utility towards the future. So,
yeah, and I think that's the idea, is that it starts out as an R&D, as a test drive for us at a small scale, and then if it works, it gets paid for by the real budget, that's paid for by people's customers' rates. So I encourage you guys to think about that. It sounds like you have some ideas of what wouldn't work and what might work, and let's come up with something that might work. Coming back to the number of EVs in Glendale, it's amazing that the adoption is great, over 20,000. I think that's way more than the last time we had a formal EV report. But the fact that there's only 2,000 customers that have chosen to get free money from only charging at night, that seems like a really low adoption rate. And I'm not saying we shouldn't increase the monthly incentive. I'd take it, but is it a money thing, or is it a marketing thing, or why are we only getting to 10%? I don't know that more people are going to sign up if it's a bigger amount of money. Maybe they just don't know about it. Maybe we need to put a flyer on the window sticker at every dealer in Glendale that says, if you buy this car, we'll give you $15 a month if you charge it at night, something like that. So that one jumps out to me as just being a very low adoption rate for something that really doesn't take any effort by the customers to do. And they're probably doing anyway, because most people charge their cars at night when they're home, asleep in their bed, same time they charge their phone. So I think we should look at that one and try to get a better understanding of why are so few people using it, and figure that out, because every time I hear that, it just boggles my mind, because it's such free money. So, one thing that I would like to see, and maybe this is a potential R&D project, is if we talked about grid upgrades we're making, this idea that and also, Brian, you mentioned for commercial or multifamily chargers that if you're in install 20, maybe it triggers a big electrical infrastructure upgrade and it becomes a much bigger project. I wanted to ask, have any of those projects used managed charging to cap the total load that those chargers might bring? Theoretically, you could have 20 EVs plug into 20 chargers and they all charge at full blast at the same time. But the reality is that's not going to happen very often. And with managed charging, it doesn't need to ever happen, and everyone's car is still charged in the morning. So has that been part of any of these projects?
Yes, it has. There's one in particular I just did a site visit on a couple weeks ago, on Verdugo up by the GCC College, a large, I think 60-unit apartment complex over there that is using managed charging, and has, I think that was 14 chargers, level 2s in the garage, all networked and all managed. So it was done very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of thing we want to incentivize. So if we want to maybe say, if you're going to have more than 10 in one spot, you must have managed charging to get the, whatever terms we want to put on it. But if that's going to reduce the amount of overhead that the customer has to install. It'll reduce the project costs. But from what I understand, our general look about reliability and distribution is we plan for the worst case scenario, which is every customer uses every kilowatt of capacity that's available to them at the same time. And if we can reduce that total demand, that helps us, fewer lines and all that kind of stuff. So I think if we take that same concept into customers' panel upgrades, I'd like to see us play with smart panels, where the panel can control at the circuit level certain loads, so that instead of upgrading my service to a 400 amp service, I could keep my 200 amp panel, but with a smart panel that says, yeah, you can have an induction range and 2 electric cars and multiple heat pumps, but you can't charge your car while you're cooking dinner because that'll be too much current. And that would be totally fine with me. And I would much rather have my car stop charging for 10 minutes while I cook dinner than pay thousands of dollars to upgrade my, overhead service to a bigger wire. And I think as a utility, we would rather not be upgrading people's panels to bigger current ratings and bigger overhead service. So I don't know if you guys have looked at that, if that's something that we could consider, but I think also it relates to ADU construction, which is another kind of burgeoning trend in the city for affordable housing. I'm considering an ADU. The prospect of adding a separate meter doesn't really make sense to me. I don't need to be able to turn on everything in the ADU and everything in my house at the same time. They could be on a smart panel, kind of that whole kind of intelligent management or load management, whatever the industry term is for all of these things, where instead of building more stuff, we're just managing the stuff more thoughtfully. I think that's a category or a theme I would like to see kind of in these programs. Yeah, so that's my soapbox for tonight. Thank you for your indulgence. Any other comments, Ted?
No, although I must say I'm impressed by the list of things that we are giving rebates for. It's nice to see.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation. I don't feel comfortable advancing the motion that was requested. I'll allow my fellow commissioners to consider that. But I think we gave some guidance on what we would have needed to see to be able to kind of confidently recommend that. It's not to say these are bad things, but maybe some feedback for how they get presented for the council. Or if we had another opportunity to review them, my understanding with the calendar is we do not, because this is going to move forward. So maybe you can explain the process from here.
So there's some very real concerns about basically pushing our current schedule with council out into June. If we did that, it would have to be after, obviously, the commission meeting so that we could seek guidance, further guidance and or endorsement from commissioner. And in the past, in reviewing these things, council has spent at least 2 sessions looking at this. I don't know that they would do that this time, but I'm planning for possibilities. Also in the past, it was part of the budget process. We pulled it out of the budget process so we can get the focus to the programs that it needs. So we'd be taking a risk, essentially, in not being able to have it approved and in place for July 1st. If it needed to move, I'm sitting here considering the impact of it not being available by July 1st. I don't know, we might be able to risk it. We'd have to move where it's at right now in council session out to a later date in June. So we'd hopefully be able to do it right after commission if you were going to do that.
I think it's worth the risk. The commission is set up to advise the council. And it's been one of my frustrations when I was on the commission before, that the commission has not been given the time to review and to recommend or not to recommend. And it's almost been a formality to come to the commission, sort of pay some lip service to the commission, and then go directly to the council. But I know that I've been asked to get back on the commission to be pushing for the commission to have a greater voice and to make, serious recommendations. So I think it would be a disservice to the whole process and a waste of our time if you know, our comments just get blown off and you go directly to the commission, or to the council, excuse me. I know I would certainly have a conversation with my council members about that. That I would be disappointed that our guidance doesn't have a feedback effect and enhance the process, because this is all hugely positive stuff. There's nothing wrong with this. We all want to be proud of it, but if we can't see, you know, if we can't see enough information to say, yeah, we want to put forth a motion to approve this, then I would expect the council would have the same reaction. So that would be my recommendation, would be to retool it, come back to us, and I'm sure we'll approve what you retool, because I'm sure that you've given all of this ample thought. We just didn't see it. We didn't see the data, right? We didn't see the metrics that is our responsibility to report on to the council.
Yeah, I mean, there are obviously a lot of good programs here. But for me, especially, I'm new to the commission, so I just need more information on that. One quick question. So what if you miss a council meeting and the program is not, or I'm assuming the budget will not be approved on July 1st, so.
It wouldn't be, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't be approved later. Basically what's being proven, or what's being approved is the program. The dollars are there. They're separate.
So will this mean the incentives will stop, or people, if
We
they?
won't have the incentives available come July 1st.
I see.
They wouldn't be available until after council has formally approved the document and the programs.
And that is because the program would not just continue with the status quo until changes were made. It would actually end at the end of June.
Well, we're bringing you new programs and getting rid of others. There's a reason why we're doing that, is because we think that some of those are not cost effective and they are not in general effective. And we want to give the right dollars to the right accounts or the right programs to actually promote those new ones.
Sure.
So that's the net impact.
So I think I just want to clarify, continuing the status quo for an extra month is different than having a blackout where there are no incentives available for a month.
Right.
Which situation do you think we would be in if we missed the July
Well, I don't
1st?
think you can compare it to a blackout.
Okay, sorry, wrong word here.
But that's why I said I think I was considering it, and I think I'm comfortable looking to change our current council session that we were planning on going to a later date, and then bring it back to you with a more complete perspective on why we think these programs are the best, and that's why we brought them to you.
And I think having fulfilled that, we'd be comfortable giving a strong recommendation, and hopefully that makes the council approval process go easier. So I think that sounds like a good approach. Again, we don't want to create more roadblocks. There's enough bureaucracy in city government as it is. But I think if you're looking for a motion of support, we're not prepared to give it today. I think next meeting we probably would, if we see more information, maybe see some adjustments. Or if you need to go ahead to city council without our blessing, that's another alternative.
I don't think that's the case right now. Obviously, I'll have a conversation with Mr. Glendale, but I believe we should be okay.
Okay, great. If there's nothing else, I think that concludes our discussion of the public benefits charge. Thank you very much.
All right, item number 7, agenda forecast.
So looking at the agenda forecast, one comment we got is we're expecting a commissioner to be absent in August, and wondering if it's possible to move the wildfire mitigation plan update. Would that be available to review in July? Or do we need that extra time to prepare it? I see we have an open meeting in July. We don't have anything allocated there. Imagine if we come back with public benefits next month, that may push some things from June to July. Although I'm guessing summer readiness is kind of time sensitive and budget presentation is also kind of time sensitive. So I don't know, maybe June ends up being a longer meeting, but what do you guys think about moving the wildfire mitigation plan to July?
I don't think we have any issue with that.
President Fay, Steve Narcissian, AGM. Typically in July, the first week of July is meetings are canceled to do the 4th of July weekend. So we can certainly move it, but probably moving it to September if a commission is going to miss out. We are hoping to have full commission next month in June. So I would leave it up to Scott to make that decision. But I just wanted to put that out there. Typically, July is one of the meetings that we cancel.
Our only problem is September is Labor Day. So we're off on that day too.
One quick question. I know the wildfire mitigation plan is due to the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board. I think it's by the end of June. Is this why you need to, so why is this going in August than before that?
Commissioner Avedinian and Council Commission members. Yeah, it was, we are moving forward with the plan, but this year is not the major change. This is the continuation of the 3-year plan. Next year, we'll have an updated program, but that's not going to be discussed in this meeting. What we're going to discuss is what we are turning in this year.
Okay. Thank you.
So would it be prudent to just say that the July meeting is canceled if that is the convention and we don't have anything scheduled for July? Because right now it seems to be a little bit ambiguous.
Well, I think we could probably have a conversation first off about what we want to see and when, and then let's talk about the 7th. So budget presentation in June makes sense. So does summer readiness. I think you definitely will need elections because you will have 2 more people on the commission by then, and then you can settle that. We will be coming back with PVC to you then also at that time. I don't think budget presentation and summer readiness, I don't think it will take too much time for that.
President Fay, it appears that we may be able to do the wildfire mitigation in June as well. I think.
That's what I was about to suggest.
Okay. So I think we'll have a big meeting in June, and then maybe we can skip July. And unless something comes up, I don't know if anyone has conflicts planned on the 7th. Kind of see that as outside the influence of the 4th of July holiday, but I understand that that's the convention. So otherwise, I think everything is okay here as it's written, and I know we may have changes between now and then. So the main change from what's written is the wildfire mitigation plan moves from August to June. Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
Are there other key updates about our big capital projects? Like we had a Shoal update here. I know we had a Grayson update last month.
This month.
Should we pencil a Grayson update in? 6 months after that, or what do you think? Are there milestones that you think we'll be able to see progress? And
I think the biggest items associated with Grayson right now is the impacts of the tariffs. So I'm hoping to have some clarity on that in the next couple weeks. It's probably something I can handle with staff comments if you're okay with that.
yeah, I think that would be fine. Okay. Great. Any other thoughts on the agenda forecast? Okay, great.
One more thing. You mentioned the supply chain issues. I'm not sure if there has been any presentation here about supply chain impact to the utility. If there hasn't been one, it'll be great to see one if my colleagues are okay with that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of conversations. I think we had last year conversations on supply chain issues. We had material issues. We had labor resource issues. We had availability of anyone to do the work a little while ago. But it's probably not a bad idea to kind of bring back where we're at. I can give you some insights real quick, but I think a more formal approach.
Yeah, maybe looking across the whole utility. I mean, what a timber tariffs on Canada mean for getting power poles, and, you know, all these things are very interconnected, so.
Well, from the supply chain issue, just a good example is if you order cable, it's got to be 10,000 feet of it, and you can get it in a year. If you're ordering transformers, about 2 years. So that's the kind of things we're looking at. And if you're not in the queue, you have to buy your way into the queue.
Okay, so yeah, that would be definitely good to go into at a future meeting. Good suggestion.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I move that, or I'm, entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, we're adjourned.